Hey guys, it's Kosi here. So, this podcast is a little bit different from our general blockchain related subjects. Today, we are speaking to Lynn Whitbeck from Petite to Queen. It's all about sales. So, every business needs to make sales, which is, as Lynn says, the bloodline. And it's all about how we can use AI as well in our sales process. So I thoroughly enjoyed having this chat with Lynn, and I hope you do as well. If we have any comments, please send us all that. You can comment in the links here or hit us up on our social platforms. On that note, sit back and enjoy. For this podcast, we have invited Lynn Whitbeck from which I call the Queen of Sales, right? And I think it doesn't matter what business it is, what sector you are in, or whatever it is, sales plays a huge part in any business journey. So we thought, okay, this would be a great podcast to talk about how we can, what really goes into sales and what is the evolution, the next stage of sales is using all type of technologies, and AI is just one of them. So, Lynn, I'll pass the mic to you so that you can give a little bit about intro about who you are and how did this all started, and then let's get into it.
Yeah. All right. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Lynn Whitbeck. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most fail to connect, capture, and close their ideal clients. So I help sell with intent for maximum impact, influence, and income. And I love to leave everyone with this. Sales, love it or hate it, you won't survive without it. And sales is really the lifeblood of every business. And I've been selling since I was a Girl Scout selling cookies. So I've been doing it a long time.
I mean, there's no other better way, right? I think it's almost like, I know, I'm hearing of what Gary Vee is saying about entrepreneurship, right? You can't just go and learn it. It has to be sort of in your DNA, or it has to be pretty much part of that process. And some of us can go and learn, but some of us have to rely on industry experts such as yourselves, right? So did you always had a knack for sales, or where did it all start from?
Well, sales has always been natural for me because it's part of my core value set is to help and serve. And that's what sales is. Yep. It's providing solutions, solving problems. And when you approach sales with what I call worthy intent, it truly sets you apart as a trusted partner. So that isn't to say that I didn't learn a lot of skills along the way. And sales is a skill that can be learned like everything else.
Yeah, awesome. So, Lynn, you have your own business now. So, how did you get to creating that business? Did you start working as an internship and went to a sales organization? And from there, did you start building your own business? Or what was that journey like to this point?
Well, when I started in sales, to be honest, it was because I asked the owner of the business to go into outside sales. Okay. And so there were two partners, and they just thought it was going to be a disaster. And I started in outside sales on April 1st, which is April Fool's Day. And I ended up outselling the junior partner that first year. And I did it for 8 months less. So, and the next year I outsold the senior partner, and I never looked back.
Yeah.
And I think it was because of that core value to help and to serve. And, in a lot of ways, sales isn't rocket science. It's not world peace. But when you can take something off someone's plate and make it go away, and they don't have to think about it again, that's a gift. And that's what sales enables you to do, is to provide that expertise, that gift to your clients.
I mean, so some of the, when it comes to sales, when someone starting initially, it's almost like some people feel like, oh, we are asking for money, trying to sell something. I think what you said the word intent. right, and help. I think once you put them together, you're really making a conscious effort to help someone with intent, and then you're getting rewarded. And there's nothing wrong with getting rewarded, but being ethical and having that intent. So can you explain a little bit about intent? What do you mean by intent? What does that process looks like, and how do you get that intent?
Well, I'm going to say you either have it or you don't. So worthy intent is what I call it, is that you truly desire to help and serve your clients. You want to create impact. You want to make a difference, whether it's helping them personally, if you're helping their business, if you're helping their team, if you're helping them in turn sell their amazing product or service, or you're helping their community. That is what, at the core, is what you're doing. And yes, you are being financially rewarded for your expertise. And, but it's not about just closing a sale to get a notch on your belt. It's about actually making a difference. And when you approach sales from that perspective, it makes it a lot easier because it's coming from a genuine place. And it makes your job easier. It makes it easier for them to say yes. And it makes a lifelong relationship with your clients. And that's what I believe. I believe that I do have lifelong relationships with my clients. I get a lot of repeat business.
Yeah.
Most of my business comes from referrals. And it's because I have invested that time to make this relationship.
I think it's super important, right? I think it doesn't matter which sector you are or which business, what you're doing. I think building that relationship, like an honest relationship, using the intent of helping another person. I think the core value is based on that, I think everything sort of sprouts from there, right? So it doesn't matter like whether we are in technology or whatever sector it is. I think it's like we really focus on that foundation. And in the Web3 space, in the blockchain space, we call it we community and a lot of building up community and things like that. And I think it's super important. Again, what they're doing is like building a community means building a relationship with both parties, whether it's buyers and the sellers, and building a community to build that network. So from the from that where when you started doing your sales early days to now you're running your own business and Petit to Queen, you said that's the business, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how has the world of sales has changed up to this point? Because what I would like to down the what I'm setting it up is to talk about, okay, what is the impact, what would the impact be when it comes to AI and the emerging tech? How can we use those tools? So from before it was like, I don't know how you use the Rolodex and going to the Rolodex to what does it look like now?
There's been so many tools, right? Everything changes on a regular basis. And sales at its core, when you look at it as a relationship business, because at the end of the day, no matter what kind of tech you're in, blockchain, AI, the decision maker on the other end is another human being. And as human beings, we crave that connection. And so when you look at sales as, the relationship, right? And so through the years, I mean, I still remember getting a fax machine. So that's like when dinosaurs roamed the earth, right? And I went, what the heck is this toy? How are we even going to use this? Within a month, I couldn't live without it, right?
Yeah.
All the different things. I still remember, getting my first iPhone. It was like revolutionary. It was like I didn't have to carry 3 devices anymore. I had one. It was so cool. So now, we have more tools. I mean, you talked about AI, and AI is a very powerful tool, but it's not an easy button. What it is a very powerful tool that you can use and then fact check for very specific things. When you know your client and you really understand your client why and your persona, and when you're messaging it, you can use AI to help you find stories, anecdotes, metaphors. And I use that all the time. And so I'll be thinking of something specific, or I'm doing this work for my clients and I'm going, I need a story about this. And I'll ask it. and it will
Yeah.
give me a bunch of things, and I'll go through them, and then I might ask for something more. I might say, oh, I'm thinking of a song and the lyrics. Well, what are songs that would relate to this? And I did this recently. It was a lot of fun. It was like, I literally started my email with the song is playing in my head. Well,
Yeah.
I got AI to figure out which song was playing in my head, and then I went on my Apple Music, and I'm just sitting there listening to oh yeah, I like this one.
Yeah.
And so that was, but people connect with that. It's an emotional tug, and it creates a commonality. Like most people, of course, I'm choosing songs that most people would have heard, right? And so it's that connection. Just
Yes.
this, the email I sent out this morning, I referenced Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
And a
Oh,
specific
such a
scene
great.
in, yeah, it was
Love
like sales, and when sales is a challenge and how heartbreaking it can feel. And I was
Yes.
relating it to the episode where they get relegated, right?
Yes.
And so when you do that, people immediately, they connect. And it's like, oh, I know this. And oh, I see how this connects. And they lean in more to the content, into your sales message. So that is an incredible way to use AI. And it's a fabulous tool for doing analysis of things when you already had the content and you put it in there. It can save my team literally, I think hundreds of hours of work from the way we used to do it.
That's
So
insane.
it's very cool.
With regards to you mentioned like how the fax machine and you had 3 devices. I'm pretty sure that probably you had the what do you call a BlackBerry or
Yeah.
all those hardware to carry. So what has the sort of the when you're connecting with clients, what tools have you found to be the most effective? Is it the email, or is it picking up the phone, or is it the text message, or what is the medium that what is the process normally would you go by with sales? Because people sometimes they get the marketing and sales mixed up, and so they try to do marketing just like sales, or do sales like marketing. So where they're two very different sectors. So how do you communicate with your clients when you come to the sales or closing, or the beginning of the journey to the end of the journey? What that looks like?
Well, I mean, sales and marketing are kissing cousins, and they are closely related. But to your point, but I focus on sales.
Yeah.
And, it's really, the first thing is, it's not about you. So where do they want to connect? And how do you support that? So really understanding your ideal client and where they hang out and what format they enjoy. Now, I want to be very clear. If they enjoy a very specific thing and that's not your thing, that's okay, because you're still going to attract people who like your thing. I love email, and the reason is that I'm emailing someone directly. I use this both for outreach. It's part of when people are attracted and they connected with me, they get one of my lead magnets, they watch my TV show on sales, they're doing those activities, then I'm emailing them, and that has a much higher engagement as well as like social media. Now, but I like email. I mean, I came from corporate America. I'm very used to email. It's like where I hang out. And so there's got to be a combination of where do your ideal clients hang out and what works for you. Now, that doesn't mean you can't learn something new. But the other thing is having a process. And so when someone connects like with a lead magnet, well, of course they receive the lead magnet, but they also receive emails welcoming them to my community, delighting them, giving them more value, things they didn't expect. And then you're moving them into a regular email cadence. I email my clients, or my audience, I should say, twice a week. And I use stories to tie them in to sales wisdoms. So when that's that journey that you're putting a client on. So as you're thinking about it, I can't tell you how many times I've encountered somebody who they have a lead magnet, but nothing happens. And it's like, okay, or why?
Yeah.
Or they're on a podcast and they do nothing about it. They don't share it. They don't add it to their website. They don't promote it on social. It's like, okay, you did half the work. What about the most important half?
That's right, isn't
Finish
it?
it up.
Yes.
So, that's that follow-up. And in sales, that's one of the critical things is that people aren't ready to buy right away. So you have to be ready to follow up. So you need to know what are things that are going to add value to the conversation that you can move it forward, and what are the techniques that you're going to do? You want to mix it up because people will respond to different things at different times. And when you don't hear back, you know what? It's because they're busy.
Yes.
It's not because they're not interested, not unless they flat out tell you, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's because they're busy. That you're staying front of mind. You're delivering value, and you're building another block on that relationship and furthering the conversation. And then one day, out of the blue, it's like they get an email and they go, I'm ready. I need some help. I'm going to respond.
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people, actually, I'm going to generalize it. Sorry. I think that's where when some people's like, oh, actually, we can't get sales, or, it's hard. I think what they do understand is like when they start building their business, for example, when they open on day one, you don't have no clients unless you have like a freelancing, for example. So you have to start building the trust in the market, whichever the vertical you are on, and then it takes time to build those relationships, and and people have to see, okay, what have you done? Who are you? Are you the same person who I met like day one, or have you changed? What does it look like? I think those are pretty much the trust factors. I think the technology has made it even a lot more transparent, I would say. Like, before it was harder, but the people are used to like seeing your newspaper, for example, or magazine. But now with social media, you can really be on people's front of mind quite more regularly than before, right? So how would you use those times to send a positive message? I think that's super important. Just like you said, okay, we do the podcast, but what do you do after that? Do you reuse that content? Because you've done the hard part and now it's a closing part. How does that look like?
Are you looking to integrate your business systems with cutting-edge AI technology? Our expert team is here to help you use the power of AI to innovate, streamline, and enhance your current business operations. Contact us today at 1-800-870-200 or visit blockstars.com.au.
So I just want to reel back a little bit. Lynn, how did the name Petite Twin come about?
Well, it's sort of a funny story, but we were at dinner. I had my team. I have a young team. We were all going around trying to come up with a name. I wanted it to really represent women, and I don't care if you have purple hair and tats. It doesn't matter to me. So we're trying to get through that, and all of a sudden I just sort of looked across the table, and I realized that everybody there was like petite, size 2 to size 6, and here I am, I'm queen sized, and I went petite to queen.
Yeah.
And it's also sort of representative going from a petite sized business to a queen sized business. So you have sales, and so it just at that moment, I just said it and I went, oh my gosh, that's it. I went online, write that with my iPhone, and I bought the URL. And so that's how it started. And I'm really passionate about women specifically learning sales, because I don't care if you work a day in sales or in your life, it's leadership skills. You will learn how to negotiate, how to work with different types of people, how to flex your style, how to ask for what you want, ask for a promotion, ask for the opportunity to lead a project, whatever it is. It helps you in your life. Ask your partner to clean the dishes, like whatever it is,
Yeah.
And that is something that is so powerful. And it's not only for women, but for everyone. Those sales skills, they are truly leadership skills. These are transferable skills to any industry. And I have sold so many different types of products and services over the years, or working with my clients, different products or services. They're B2B. Yes. I'm going to be clear. Yep. I rarely have strayed into D2C, but So B2B, business to business for everyone listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the thing. These are very transferable skills in whatever you do.
That's amazing what you said, because I think growing people has to be the core of business, right? As business leaders, if you can grow other people and give them opportunities, and it's not easy, but if you can set up an environment that they can fail in a safe environment, then what happens is, I think they're going to look at it like, oh my God, someone helped me to get to this point, then I can grow other people as well. Because I think there's plenty to go around. No one steals anything from anyone. I think there's plenty out there who wants to take it, right? So it's amazing how you set up that, from your naming your business had a meaning behind it, and then you're growing people. It's pretty very cool, very cool.
Yeah. Well, and I have team members who do things that I don't know what they do. My VP of operations manages the whole website and all. I mean, I don't even know how or what I would do. I don't need to know, right? And that's great that she's taking that on and is an expert at it, right? Content director manages all the socials. I don't need to know. So these are really important things, that you surround yourself with people that, I mean, they should be smarter than you. I mean, they should be experts that should be able to let them shine. It doesn't take anything away from you. It just shows that you're dang smart because you brought them on.
I think that's a really good point. I think a lot of business people who were successful always hired people who were smarter than them, because they had to, put trust and grow them to a point, and then okay, look, responsibility. I think it's a huge thing. Once you set the foundation, you should pretty much let them fly, and let them make mistakes as well, right? Otherwise, they're not going to learn if you're always like in cotton and wool and protect them. So no, that's awesome to hear that. So Lynn, let's now sort of go a little bit into the tech side of things. So you mentioned earlier that you guys use AI internally, and that has cut down so much of manual work. So as over the years, from the fax machine, when you had the fax machine, it's a lot easier, and you had the email, it's a lot easier. So I think people, I don't know, when we start, I got into my first email address in 1994, my Hotmail address. And I remember people like, oh my God, your life's going to be a lot more easier now we have email. But I think for some reason, maybe I fell on the other side of the line. I found my days inundated with emails, right? So it never got easier. So, and then becomes the management of that email, and pretty much the marketers saw an opportunity there, and then use the platform, just like with the fax. When you had the fax, I remember seeing marketing messages come through. So they use that in the fax times and even the email times. So with the technology, as much as the exponential growth of technology, and the more we get in contact by anyone, right? We don't even, we can't say like, okay, I'm not going to give this phone number to anyone so that they can contact me. Now people find a way to find your emails and hit you up with those stuff, right? So with the technology, how do you find, you said like you have to find the right people in the right sectors. What does that process looks like when you want to find that right person and build a relationship? Because sometimes we don't even know who our clients are. How do you work out, how do you find out our right clients?
Well, I mean, you got to start with, what do you do? I mean, what is it that you do? How is it, what impact does it have? I mean, depending on a product or service, we could go through all that. But then the next step, which is really important, is you start to shift the focus completely to your client. With this in mind of your product or service, what do they want, need, or lack? Why does it matter to them? What problem are they trying to solve? What solution are they seeking? What's in it for them? So they can what? What is the initiative they're trying to, take on? What's the goal? What's the dream? And when you understand that, people buy the dream. Nobody buys an iPhone to make a phone call. Nobody.
No.
Okay? So what you have to get into is what is the so they can. Now you translate what you do and how you help and serve them into why it matters to them, what's in it for them, so they can what, right? And now you are able to create, a lead magnet. You've got messaging. You're able to talk on shows. You're able to get up on the stage so that you can attract people who want that, that speaks to them. And that is how you attract, that tribe. Now, and when you do that, you also need the foundation set up. And this is where you use tech. All right.
Yep.
You need to have a place where they can get the lead magnet, right? Because even when I talk on stage, I have a whole system so that to get the, to collect the leads, to move them through the journey to become clients, right? So you have this process. They go through, they get onto my email list, they get welcomed, they go through a whole series. And then for the people who aren't ready to buy right now, which, they go into an ongoing weekly email campaign, and then they get offers. They can have a free masterclass. Sometimes there's paid workshops. Sometimes there's a new paid, guide or something. It's just, there's a whole litany of things to do. So, and it's going to be different for every business. All right. So, but as you develop that, it's all about that client why, and then building the strategy that fits your clients, your ideal clients, and fits you. If you don't feel comfortable getting up on the stage, that's not going to work for you right away. And I will tell you, that is a learned skill. My first podcast, which was 7 years ago as a guest, was absolutely cringeworthy. I could hardly talk for the first 20 minutes. I was so nervous. It was a whole new platform. Being in front of video was very new for me. I was used to being on stage and doing some corporate events and large client events, but it was like all new. And it was just like, this is a skill I have to learn. Well, now I can jump up on the stage and it's just like you just turn a switch and I go. But so everybody out there, you start with something that is a stretch and you're okay. You've got to be okay. As you said, you've got to be okay if you fall down. Nobody learned to ride a bike without getting a skinned chin, elbows, and knees. It's
100%.
You get back up, you dust yourself off, and you get on that bike again.
I think otherwise a lot of people look outside and say oh, they can judge people, but until they really get up and do it themselves, I don't think you get the same feeling of what it takes to do what other people do. So I have a whole new respect to people who just keep on trying out there, who's hustling, grinding out there. So one of the things that you spoke about earlier, Lynn, is about finding out what the client's needs. Now, I just want to touch base around that. So before, you had to find out, you had to do some research on the client, what they're doing, what are their services, their products, and the challenges the industry is facing, and give you can get a sort of a ballpark idea when you approach a client. Okay, this might be the same thing that they are facing. Like, for example, when with the schools here, we have pitched a AI product as well. And what we found was, when you catch up with about a handful of schools, then you realize actually 80% of the time they come across the same challenges. And when you spoke with companies, for example, like the lawyers or the accountants as well, and we found, they are coming through the same issues, but not same ones, but 80% general. And then the 20% so specific to them, who they are based on the company culture and all that. So, and we have helped a company for research company to build a AI tool where they put the company details, the company sector, a lot of this information that is available publicly, and then it generates these could be the challenges that they're faced with. So And like you said, these types of tools are now really helping some of the companies to really hone in to find solutions that are meaningful those for the sector. And then as you said, you need a human to add that magic, this, the fairy dust, to really make it so specific for that client. So when you said you're using AI in your process, what does it look like? Where do you find the most use when it comes to AI?
Okay, so one thing that we use it for, as I said, is to find the stories, the anecdotes, things that were in the news, and we'll use that to connect with whatever we're talking about, whether it's on behalf of our clients or for ourselves. So that's one piece. The second thing that we use AI is that when we are doing an analysis, so if we have a client and we want to look at like competitors, it's a great way to go and we'll, identify competitors ourselves often, because sometimes AI can find competitors, not always. Sometimes you really need to do some different types of legwork. And then you go to their website and you start looking at things, and you can pull content, copy and paste, put it into a Word doc or a Google Doc, whatever you're using. And then you put it back into something like ChatGPT with very specific instructions. And so then it can start to cross-analyze, like, what are competitors, what are their testimonials saying? What's the transformation people are experiencing? Let's say that's what they're looking for. Or what are the solutions that they are able to realize? What are the gains in their production or their operations? And so when you do that, now you've got some collective information that is really showing you some market trends.
Yeah.
And this is, once again, and sometimes it will identify areas that you were blind spots for you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about businesses. They may not, if they're using it for their own internal purposes, it can showcase something that they missed. And so it's like, oh gosh, I didn't think about that. I never use AI to write content. Okay. Because first of all, it's garbage. I'm sorry. But if you use it for the basic concepts, like, oh, I didn't think of that. And then I literally just glance and then I write it myself, because it's, from my experience and my vision and view, it's, as I say, sales of worthy intent. That is where that perspective is coming from when I'm sharing how to attract a client, how to close the client, how to ask a client for referrals, whatever it happens to be. So these are, AI is still, and I really encourage people, you need someone to guide you. You do need experts to help you understand how to use it effectively, because otherwise it's already, I mean, Google can already figure out if an article is written by AI, and they put you on page 2,050,000. So, they're already figuring this out. And so if you want to stand out, it better be content that a human being has generated, but with help, right? With help. Correct. And work with an expert who can help you identify how to really take advantage of this technology. I mean, I've learned what I do from experts.
Yes. I think that's what you said was just bang on, because especially when you do the using AI, it's a great tool, right? It's not the final destination or final solution. It's more like a tool that you can use on the way to that journey. And I think you should always have the human element in there. I think we still got a few more years, for being a human until the AGI comes into play. But currently, as you said, like, a lot of the technology is already being built to identify AI, especially with now the video side of things as well, generating, and the image generation is getting like, it's not like annual progression, it's like daily progression. It's only going to get better and better and better, and it come to a point that we would not realize whether it's true or false, right? So when it comes to sales, I would say the the tools will be a lot more like available for a lot of people, but you have to know exactly how to use these tools, right? And that's where the expert comes in, I would say, right? Am I right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there also be those individuals who create tools to crack the AI to figure it out.
Yes.
So what, it's all good. I mean, this is
Yeah.
once again the whole reason it's even around is because humans created it. So this is just the next technology surge that we're going through, and
Yeah.
it's all going to be fine. We'll get to the next stage, and then it's gonna all change again.
It change again, right? And I say the change is the only constant, right?
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that I am saying someone else whatever they said, and I heard it, and I mean that's like so true. So we internally we use AI. We are great believers when it comes to AI, just like internet, or just like any tech. You have to embrace, because in the day you can fight against a technology, and ultimately the technology wins. So why not embrace it and learn how to use the technology and not be scared of it? I think it's just like some people get scared because they don't know what it is. And you, as you said, the AI is dumb. I think it's a first class BS machine. I think once you understand that, how can you use it
Yeah.
to your processes? Because at the end of the day, I think people think like, oh, AI start thinking. And AI is not thinking. All it's looking is pattern recognition and outputting the next letter. And it's like, okay, what is the relationship between the first, second, third letter? Okay, I might give the fourth letter, and then the word, and then the sentence, and the paragraph. And that's how it's just regurgitating what it sees, right? So people are easily fooled thinking like, oh, the AI is start thinking now. It's not thinking. It's like mapping the numbers and looking for patterns and just outputting the next pattern. So in a place like that, if you think like, okay, this content that get generated by AI is that I'm going to just copy and paste and put it on a blog, or as you said, you know, I think when you get understanding, then you think, okay, look, this is just a framework for me to work on, just like anything, just like a framework, and then that helps you to build your profile, what that page looks like, what that content looks like. And I mean, like, we found it was amazing when you do proposals for business proposals, because ultimately what we do is, as tech people, is that we go through with the client, okay, what do they need? They need a login system, they need a search facility, they need a database, and they need to build the blockchain at the back end, and what are those capabilities? But ultimately, there's nothing new. All we are doing is what's out there. There are no new ideas. It's just like, using of ideas and putting them together with different things, right? Combinations. So what we have done internally is that we have built our system so that we can say to a client, okay, once we get the workshop, we plug these things in, and then we get the proposal. But that proposal is at around about maybe about 65% on a good day. So then we had to go in and fix some of this up and make it so that allows it the pixie dust, that we add. I
Yeah.
think, and I think that's the thing. I think once you understand what the AI is there for and what it is, and I think some people get disappointed, like, oh my God, it's just throw me junk. And you know why, once you understand what's the foundation of it, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
but at the same time, it can be a huge time saver. As if you
huge.
know how to use it and you use it properly, it's I can guarantee it will save you a ton of time.
Yeah.
It's just like that old fax machine. It was
Yes.
incredibly effective,
Effective.
for what it did. And this is a random B2B sales tip. If you are selling into a business, most likely they still have a fax machine in that business, probably in accounting or legal.
Yes.
It's actually an interesting way to do a follow-up is send a fax, and it's going to end up on that person's desk, like flat on
Yes.
that desk. It's like, holy crap, you got a fax.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting way to truly get someone's attention these
Yeah.
days, because nobody uses it anymore for that purpose.
Yes, for that purpose. I mean, like, I would say the same thing. We have seen how the platforms have evolved, right, all the time. Like, we started with Facebook, and now it's using. I think the people's attention span has come quite small and more impactful as well, right? Now people want to get the whole message under 3 seconds. Before it was like a little bit, and now it can compress. So in that instance, with the attention span, I'm pretty sure that you have come across this, right?
Oh, yeah.
With your journey.
Yeah, I call it the attention span of an amoeba. Yeah, they have very short attention span.
So how have you overcome this challenge, or how have you, changed your processes over the time? And do you have a framework, or do you have something that said, okay, guys, this is our next iteration? These are the frameworks, or what does it look like for you, and how did you brought your company from that to this?
Yeah, so I really focus on what I call infotaining content. So it's informative and it's entertaining.
Yeah.
So like my email this morning was something like why cat barf is like a client snafu. So first of all, people are going like, what? And it's immediately like, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And so then they start to read it. And I actually started that with the Ted Lasso story and how that makes you feel. Because most people have lost a client or had a sales disappointment. And that episode, it's just like, oh, it was just like so crushing. And so it's like, oh, yeah, I remember. And I know that. And then, I basically gave some tips on when things go sideways, in a client relationship. So how to repair the client relationship. And then at the end, I tied it back in to how I had come to my desk that morning to get the email, and I discovered my cat had literally thrown up on some paperwork on my desk.
Yes.
Since I still do printouts. I printed out copy for a new master class that I'm doing. I like to look it through. It's just me. And I went, okay, was this a sign from the universe telling me that copy was cat barf?
Yes.
I tied it in through the story, but it's a light read. It's like 2 to 3 minutes, but it's fun, right? Yeah. And yet at the same time, they got a bunch of ideas on how they could repair their client relationship. Yeah. And so it's informational, and I actually pointed them to a TV show where I share all this, everything. And the TV show is definitely very teach and train on sales, and so. Yes. But at the same time, the email is this: you can, at a glance, you can skim it, get a chuckle, and move on with your day.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? I think because people are going to see so many emails comes through now, and they are, that they've been generated using AI. And when I even come to a point that now people are just, I don't think people are just putting that time into it, because I think with you know what, they would not notice it, but you notice it, as a person. If you get the message, you notice it, but for some reason when they are doing it, they feel like, the other person does not recognize it, and it's, I think it's a sixth sense, right? I think it's our human race being, I think the DNA signature of growing in the wild and looking out for those poisonous things around. I think we still got that sixth sense. So I think it doesn't matter the technology has moved and we moved, we still sense in that DM or that email or whatever that comes through. So I want to tie this back into the, what you said about the intent. I think intent matters, and I think people can feel what that intent is from the first sentence, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, and for that email, I skim mine. And I immediately just click things off that I don't even bother to look at, just from the subject line alone. Yeah. And so, and I truly loathe when someone puts me on their email list when I haven't chosen to opt in. So yes, that's a no for me. So I don't like that. I totally want my audience to opt in, which is why my unsubscribe rate is like I don't know, some lower than a snake's belly. It's well under 1%, right? And the reason is because they chose to opt in, then I welcome them, I tell them what to expect, and at that point, they have 3 emails so they can opt out. Yeah. Normally by the 3rd email, they're not leaving, and then they're on my list, right? And, then I'm nurturing that relationship over time, and they get other opportunities to interact with me. So I think that for everyone listening, this is where you use AI as a very effective tool, but get out of your own way. Think about your clients, think about their day. And, sometimes they've gone through that. Like they just had a big sales disappointment. Well, it's not the end of the world. Okay. Stuff happens. So whether it's cat barf or being relegated, right? Whatever. It's the thing is okay, what's next? And how am I going to move forward? Or if I am in a crisis with a client, what are some things that I can do to fix it? Because there are things that you can do to fix it.
You can do, right?
And spoiler alert, the number one thing is to perform emotional repair because they are a human, right? And they feel betrayed. You broke their trust, whether it was you personally or your company or, whatever the crazy cloud snafu that happened, whatever it happens to be. So this is, and that's where this thing all ties together. As you said, the pixie dust, and they desire the human connection. And they can tell when a human has taken the time to connect with them. And whether they read that email that day, they're busy, but they'll read it the next day or the next week, and that's still a building block for that relationship.
Are you planning to launch a blockchain project? At Blockstars, we specialize in developing blockchain projects from your initial idea to the final product. To launch your successful blockchain project, drop us an email to hello@blockstars.com.au. 100%. So, Lynn, when we do use AI, for example, you mentioned like ChatGPT, right? And ChatGPT is like the one that everyone goes to. That's their first go-to, and once they're happy with it, they're pretty much stuck with it. And until something is not right with whatever the output is, right?
Oh yeah, they get stuff wrong all the time. I mean, you better fact check stuff.
Yeah, 100%. You do, right? And we have come across with so many different platforms and models and use cases when to use what, right? And there are some amazing tools out there, like when we do our, for example, models with price comparisons and things like that. Our pretty much go-to is the Google's AI, which is Gemini. And then if you want to look for like a like research or something like a little bit more in depth on the regulations and things like that, then we go to the Perplexity, because Perplexity gives references where these things this referred from. So you can always fact check like that and like, oh, actually it took some information from the wrong place, for example. So you can do that. And then ChatGPT is where everyone starts, and then we build from that one. Then there's another one called Venice AI, which it's pretty open, which means it doesn't have the filters that ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini has. So it doesn't have what we call the political correctness, and it will give you exactly what it finds. And sometimes you need that as well, because you might want to do some research and you want to make sure that whatever you get back are not filtered and what they want us to learn is more like, okay, this is what you asked, okay, this is what the information I'm going to give you. So there are so many of those tools as well. And I think the other one I would like to sort of bring to everyone's like sort of the front of mind is that when people start putting things onto third-party platforms, they have to understand, okay, there's a bit of a risk goes in there as well, because you're putting your intellectual property out there. Unless, as you say, like, it's okay to do some research on clients because they're public domain, right? And there's no harm in doing that. But when we do development work for like investment houses, for example, to work out their clients' risk profiles and what to invest in and things like that, we always we get that AI so that it doesn't talk to outside world, and it's trained data, so that we train on the customer's data, and it's all closed so that the client's IP is protected in that sense, because it's important in those ones. But in the other situations, like when we we have this, virtual assistants. Now, for the virtual assistants, we are more than happy to plug the AI, which is open AI, and because the AI is like simply asking some of the information, but then the client information get put that into a secure database or a CRM or things like that. So I think it's important for all of us to understand the data, the privacy, and how that works. It's super important, especially you'll be working with some clients who have some highly, what we call the data, that the client's data, right? So in your sales process, do you provide customers with systems like your platforms, or do you provide them training, or what that looks like?
Yeah, no, I mean, I leave all that to experts like you because we're already way out of my depth. We really work on that sales strategy at figuring out, their client why, what does that client journey look like? Where are we going? Building out the foundation. There are things that we're very familiar with, but we don't know every software or anything else. We're very familiar with like Go High Level.
Go High Level is very good platform.
Yeah, I mean, and it is also something that we moved to at the very beginning of the year in Q1, and I eliminated like 4 tools, at least 4 things. But the key here is that if they're using some other kind of system, that's fine. It's what's the process? What does that look like? What is the content? How are we actually communicating with our ideal clients so that they're going to want to connect, that they're going to be attracted, there's going to be the spark, they're going to want to connect, and then how are we going to nurture that to guide them to through the different sales stages?
Yes.
And so in some cases I've worked with clients precisely on their sales process. What are the questions that they ask during the different calls? What are some of the follow-ups that they're going to do? What, all the way through helping them with the onboarding or the implementation. Because once your client says yes, that's the first half. So you still got to do the other half. You've got to execute. You've got to deliver. You've got to delight your client. And then you have to ask them for referrals and introductions.
Yes.
Because they are going to be a great resource for you. And so it's like a soup to nuts, going through that. But when they need help with very specific areas of expertise, then that's where we're going to refer them to someone else if they don't already have that person. Because, we're not an expert on every system. We are not a CRM expert. We're not a LinkedIn expert, yada, yada, yada. What we focus on is who is their ideal client? What's that why? And what's the process and the journey look like?
I think that's when you mention Go High Level, Nathan, he's like going like, hey, so and it's an amazing tool. We do lot of work using Go High Level as well, especially with our because Nathan here is doing the assistant callers and things like that, which was plugging into Go High Level to save the information and all that. So it's an amazing tool, and we use it internally for ourselves as well. I would say that's something that really came out in the last few months, really, isn't it? Because I can't remember seeing them like maybe a year ago or so like that. But
yeah, I was exposed to it about 2 years ago, I would say, but we were still on that point where everybody was we'd gone from having one single tool, the old Infusionsoft, Infusionsoft.
Infusionsoft. That was like, you need a degree to use that one.
Yeah. And so I never was in it, but I mean, I heard everybody would talk about it. The nickname was Confusionsoft, right? And so then people went to all the separate systems. So you'd have separate ESP, you'd have, Opt-in Monster, you'd have Teachable or Kajabi, you would have, all these different things. Well, this is the first time everything sort of come back all together. And so now, and I will say that there's certain things, like I still use Calendly. It's just not as good, but I eliminated Teachable. I used in Go High Level. I eliminated Opt-in Monster, used Go High Level, eliminated Hootsuite. Sorry, using Go High Level. I mean, there's so many, Thrivecart, used Go High Level affiliates. I mean, all the things, and it just keeps getting better right now.
Yes.
So, but at one point the cheese is going to get moved again. So right now,
Yes.
I moved my cheese in January to this,
Yes.
and or I followed the cheese here, whatever it is, whatever way you want to go with that. If you haven't read the book, please do.
Yes. Great book.
It is a metaphor for our life, right? Our time.
Yes.
And so I think the key thing is that you have to recognize that wherever you're at, something new is going to come along, and you've got to be open to that. You've got to learn it. You've got to figure out how you're going to be able to incorporate it in your business, because otherwise you're going to get left behind. It's just that simple.
100%. Yeah. No, yes, so true. So Lynn, we are coming to the end of the podcast. This is like great, right? So if I rewind a little bit, I would say the key takeaways for me is intent, delight, and execute. I say, right? That's what I picked up. And I think everything else, boils down to those, right? When you say like intent, you have really mean when you're connecting with a client, why are you connecting? What is, almost like empathy. I think that's super important. Being had the intent is super important. And then the delight is like, as you said, you have to give them more than what they expect to, so that they know that, oh, they're getting value for money. And this person's really that derives from that intent, and then execute. That's the other part, right? How can you deliver? What you don't want to do is you do not want to promise the world and deliver atlas. You have to say, okay, here's the atlas, but here's the world. You know what I mean? So that's what I sort of captured from our conversation, and what you're doing is amazing. So before we close, Lynn, I just want to give you the opportunity for you to give some flowers to people around you who helped you, and off you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of people who I've worked with. RJ Redden is one who's really helped me with AI. So, and she does have a tool that's built on top of, I think it's on top of ChatGPT. That's very cool, called First Draft Ninja. How I've incorporated story into my emails and really embraced that was all Tom Ruich with Story Power Marketing. And then speaking from the stage, that's Jane M. Powers. I mean, she's become a very close personal friend. She's just amazing. And I guess the last person I'm going to give a shout out to is for my own personal development and getting past my own blockers, the things that are in your subconscious that do hold you back. And that's Leslie Nace. She's really amazing, and she really gives you that space so that you can personally grow and develop. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day, being really open and ready and excited for the next phase of your life and the next phase of your business.
That's amazing. And Lynn, before we finish, if anyone wants to find you, where should they go if they want to be in touch with you to build up their sales funnels and all these amazing things, right? Because people are like, sales is just, let me get an email database and just fire that email from ChatGPT, right? But now we know it's the intent, delight, and execute. So if they had to find you, where can they find you?
So my website is petite, and the digit 2, queen.com, petite2queen.com. We've got a plethora of resources. We have a search. You just say what you want. I want information on follow-up. It's going to give you every TV show I've done on it, any kind of masterclass or webinar, articles, resources. So there is a lot there, and I've got a number of free resources that you can download that are going to get you started of looking at your own sales. Where are the gaps? What's like bleeding right now? Where are you hemorrhaging, so that you can make some immediate improvement? Yeah. Help some more people, get some more sales so that you can make a difference.
Awesome. That's great. And then what we'll do is we'll also put your LinkedIn profile and those places when you publish this podcast as well, so anyone can get in touch with you. So on that note, Lynn, thank you so much for taking some time. I know that you are it's going to be some crazy time for you. So thank you so much for giving us your time and our community some valuable or invaluable knowledge of sales and what that looks like. We only managed to scratch the surface of the of the whole process, but this is just a start. So Lynn, thank you so much and have a great evening and speak to you soon.
Yes, and thank you so much. And you have a great day.